Um, Good evening. My name is Adriana Nochebuena Martinez. I'm going to talk about a research method called the case study. Before, I have to mention that we have three broad approaches to educational research. The first one is the scientific paradigm. It refers to the theoretical framework. We have also the interpretative and subjective approach. This tries to understand and interpret the world in terms of his actors. This is why it is described as interpretative and subjective. The third one approach that take account of the political and ideological context is that of critical educational method. Okay, talking about the case study, what is this? This is a study of a specific instance in action. The single instance is of a bounded system. For example, a child, a class, a school. It provides a unique example of real people in real situations. It can establish cause and effects in real context. We have to mention some hallmarks about the case study research method. This is rich and vivid description. It can give us a chronological narrative events, and this focus on individual actors or groups. In this research method, the researcher is involved. Case study methods are set in temporal, geographical, organizational, institutional, and other contexts. It strives to portray what it is like to be in a particular situation, to catch the close-up reality and thick description. In the case study, data are gathered systematically and rigorously. Despite the case study method belongs to the descriptive and interpretative approach, the data gathered must be systematically. In this way, Nisberg and Watt suggest avoid these 5 things. The first one is the journalism. It means picking out more striking features of the case to thereby distorting the full account. We have to avoid emphasizing sensational aspects. We have to avoid the selective reporting. What is this? We have to avoid selecting only that evidence which will support a particular conclusion, thereby misrepresenting the whole case. We have to avoid the anecdotal style. It is degenerating into endless series, the low-level, banal, and tedious illustrations. We have to avoid the pomposity. It is generate profound theories from low-level data. And we have to avoid the blandness. It is unquestionably accepting only the respondent's views, or only including those aspects of the case on which people agree, rather than areas on which they might disagree. There are many types of case study. Jean, 1994, talked about 3 three types. The first one is the exploratory. Here the research refers to the research questions or generate hypotheses. The second one is the descriptive. It provides narrative accounts. Then the explanatory. It is testing theories. Also, Sturman, 1999, talked about ethnographical action research, evaluative and educational case study. A key issue in case study research is the selection of information. A single event is hugely important insight into a person or situation. We have to recognize the significance events more than the frequency. If we pay attention on the frequency, we are talking about the scientific approach. But if we are talking about significant events, we talk about the case study research method. We have to observe the characteristics of the individual unit. Another types of case study are, for example, the structured and the unstructured one. The first one is precise, and the gathering of the data is quantitative. One example is coherent study of coping with computers using highly structured observation schedules. Okay, we have also the participant and non-participant. In the first one, the researcher is really involved in the situation. In the second one, I can give you an example is when the researcher gets into a classroom and he's sitting on the back of the class and he's only watching, observing, taking notes, and he or she doesn't do any kind of contact with people there. Why participants' observation? Observations are superior to experiments when data are being collected on non-verbal behavior. Observations discern ongoing behavior. The researcher intimate and have an informal relationship with people that is working with. And observations are less reactive than other data gathering methods. Recording observations. Loveland gives us some useful suggestions to recording observation. First, he says that we have to record notes as quickly as possible. In that way, we don't forget any kind of details or important events. We have to type notes because in this way we have clear notes. It's easier to understand them. We have to have notes full enough. It means that when we are going to read them 1 or a month or 1 year later, we can understand them. We have to have 2 copies, the original one and another that we are modifying. And we have to resume until the last observation is complete. Planning a case study. We have to plan the circumstances. For example, we have to think about the disruptions. We have to plan the access to the data to the participants, when we're going to let them know about the information. We have to plan the conduct of the story. We have to think about the resources, what kind of resources we're going to use, primary or second resources, for example. And we have to think about the data collection methods that we're going to use. We're going to plan the consequences of our researches. For example, we have to think about the anonymization of people that we are going to work with. Nisbet and Watt, 1984, recommend three aspects. The first one is promise that respondents can see those sections that refers to them. Then we have to take full account of suggestions and responses. And we have to publish respondents' comments and criticisms. Well, this is all about the case study research method. Thank you for your attention.